Hi, my name is Norma and I'm recording from Johannesburg, South Africa, and this is my very first podcast. I've been meaning to record this for a while, but I kind of freak out every time I have to do it, and so today I just decided to take the plunge, so here I am. I just wanted to share a little bit of my knitting history first, since it's my first video. So I've been knitting since the age of 5, and I was fortunate enough to learn from my mom, my aunt, and my grandmother when I was a little kid. So I've been knitting well, on and off, not necessarily without any interruption in between. So it's been over 30 years now that I've been doing my knitting. I remember when I think I was going on 6, I contributed in the knitting of my first school jersey. I was about to start first grade, and I was so eager and excited to be knitting, and I contributed in the knitting of my first school jersey, and it had a horseshoe cable and I think those 6-stitch cables as well. So it was a fun stitch to knit with some more stitch, and I think that's where my love for cables came from, because the very first project that I can remember knitting had cables. I think I did a lot of some serious knitting at a very young age, because my aunt used to do custom orders for people part-time, and she would normally knit one side and I'd knit the other, or if it's a pullover, she'd do the back and I'd do the front, and our tension was the same, so we worked together on most of her projects until sometime towards the end of 95. So at that time, knitting just stopped. I remember at school we were told that for the following year we would no longer be allowed to wear our cabled sweaters, and we would have to only wear machine knitted fisherman rib pullovers. So there was a specific stitch that had to be there, and it had to be machine knitted. So that was the first time that I realized that, we won't be doing much of this anymore. So I remember most yarn shops closed at the time, and you couldn't find yarn anywhere except maybe in other departmental stores that would have a few craft supplies here and there. But it just sort of died down at the time, and that's when I stopped for the first time. And every now and again I'd come across some yarn, not such great quality. It was usually some acrylic, and not the good acrylic that you see nowadays, but the crunchy one, and I would knit something small here and there. It was only a few years back when I got back into knitting, and there were yarn shops and there was some yarn all over the place, and it was so much fun to actually get back, and I haven't stopped since then. I literally knit every day and I love it, and now it's sort of like being used as a gauge to see how sick I am. If you see me spending the whole day without knitting, that means I'm really sick. So that's how I think everybody at home gets to tell if I'm not okay by seeing me, sleeping or just scrolling through my phone and not knitting. So I'd like to apologize for the sound issues before we go very far, because there's some repairs that are being done in one of the buildings, so you're going to be hearing some buzzing sounds every now and again. But I think now they've gone out for lunch, so I'm hoping to be done before they get back and continue working. And those that follow me on Instagram may know this, that I've got 2 girls. One is 7 years old, she's at school, and we'll be collecting her in the next hour. And my youngest Noni is 1. She's taking a nap at the moment, but she could potentially wake up before I'm done, and depending on her mood, she could wake up crying or talking or laughing. But please bear with me on the background noise. Unfortunately, I can't totally zone it all out, but just hoping that by the time she gets up, we'll be done here. So I'd like to share what I've been doing so far this year. So I'll just be quick with the projects that I've already published, and then there's a few that I'm done knitting, my finished objects, and a couple that I'm still working on. So I'll be sharing all those projects with you just now. But first, I just want to share something that happened this morning. So the past few days have been cold and it's been raining, so we're getting into fall now, so it's getting cooler. And the interesting thing that happened this morning, my daughter asked for a small blanket to take to school because they've been advised to bring them since with the whole COVID situation, they have to keep all the doors and windows open at school. So she just wanted a small blanket to take with her. So I gave her one of my handmade blankets, and she was so excited because mostly I just pick up a fleece straw and just give it to her when she needs it. But today I just gave her a hand knitted one, and she was so excited about telling her friends about the hand knitted blanket that I made. And you know, she was excited about sharing how it came about. And I realized afterwards when she was gone that you know, there's something extra special about hand knitted objects, and most of the time we don't do much of household stuff knitting. We mainly focus on sweaters and shawls and other accessories. But I've noticed that whenever one of us is sick, we quickly grab the hand knitted blanket and wrap ourselves in it. I think there's something comforting and something that just feels so good about the hand knitted objects. And one of the favorites, I'll just show it to you just now, one of the favorite blankets that I made, that was 2019. My kids love it, and they call it their picnic blanket. They've actually called it theirs. So I'm still trying to think I own it. So it's called the Quasi Throw. So I designed it using scrap yarns, some scrap cotton yarns, and it's a favorite. They like looking at the colors, playing around on it. So I'll show you just now. Here it is. It's huge, so I want to open it all up. But it's knit in pieces, and you have to sew them all together at the end. So it's a very big blanket. It's got tons of colors, and my kids love it. They play on it so much, and it still looks very new even though it's 2 years old. It's been used, it's been taken out for picnics, but it still looks new. And the colors, because I used the same brand, they all blend so well together. It's an organic cotton by Nurturing Fibers. And when I wrote the pattern, I wrote it for a number of sizes. So this one that I just showed just now is a DK weight. So I've written the pattern for fingering, DK, Aran weight, bulky, and super bulky. So there are 5 different sizes, and I drew the charts for each on how to sew them together and how many pieces you need to make for each size to get a certain certain measurements. So for people who've got a lot of scrap yarns, or who've got a lot of extra random skeins of yarn, it's a very good project to try that out on, because I've also included the yardage for each section, for each motif that you get to knit. So on all the different yarn ways. So either way, you can knit this project 4 or 5 times depending on how much scrap yarns you have, because I was just trying to avoid knitting a garter stitch blanket, which can get a bit exhausting after a while. So that's the throw that I wanted to share, that that's been a favorite at home. And I've got a couple of others that we use in the house, and everyone just gets to cuddle on them. So after this morning's incident, so to speak, I decided to do a collection of home items. So I'll see which ones I'm going to come up with. I've just jotted down a couple of notes, and I've got about 9 or 10 ideas that I'm going to put together and probably do that as an ebook, so that if someone wants to knit the whole collection for the home over a long period of time, obviously, then they can do that. So for right now, I'll just be showing you what I've published so far this year, so that by the time we get to the next episode, everything will be current and we'll be moving forward. The first project that I did was I published was the Gratitude Attitude Show. It's got slip stitches and garter stitch, and it's knit in fingering weight. So this was a project that I was that came about because of the whole, you know, stress of being on lockdown. And I remember I contacted Karen, the dyer of the Sian, that's Miss Lamotians, and I asked her to dye some bright pink for me and a dark gray so that the colors can balance each other out. But I just wanted some bright pink just to feel happy whilst I was knitting. So I chose a very simple pattern so that you don't have to do much thinking whilst working on it. And at the time, my daughter was very young. She was only about 3 months old, so I didn't have the privilege to sit down and knit something complex. So I did this design. It's slip stitches. I don't know if it shows clearly, but it's slip stitches, and there's garter stitch on the other side. So I started it from the bottom up with a large number of stitches and did some decreases right up to the top and some tassels on the 3 corners. So I'm really excited about this show, and I look forward to using it and to wearing it this winter. And then the next one that I did was that I published early this year was a collaboration with Michelle from Coconians. It's knit using 2 strands of mohair held together, so it's super light and it's got a turtleneck. So what I did was do a very long hem, and I folded it in the middle so that it could stand upright without sort of like flopping all over the place. So that's it's some turtleneck, but I made it a bit wide because I don't like things touching me on my neck. So it's slightly wider than you would normally get, and it's got drop sleeves, and the sleeves are in stockinette stitch. So what I did with this one was there was no ribbing, so I just wanted to make it so elegant, and I decided to do folded hems everywhere. So this is the bottom, I did folded hems, and I did the same thing even on the sleeves. So I just wanted to make sure that the pullover looked seamless and everything just flowed. The lace pattern is very simple, and that's the Mbalenhle pullover. And then the next one that I did was a 1 skein shawl. So it's a crescent shaped shawl, and it's quite large for a one skein shawl. I knit this one using Miss Lamotians as well, and the color is Sandcastles, so I called it Sandcastles shawl. It's got a very nice light beige with some rust colors on it, so it's a very pretty yarn, and it's got some tiny pink speckles as well. So I did some lace, some garter stitch, and some lace bands and some drop stitches. So what I did with this one was that I made sure that the segments that I did were not exactly equal and uniform, so that if at any point you run out of yarn, the shawl still looks complete. What I did was a couple of rows of garter stitch, lace band, and some more garter stitch, but the numbers were not equal. And then the drop stitches, on this section I dropped 2, but here I dropped 3. I did 3 yarn overs instead of 2, like what I did on the ones at the top. So when you're looking at the shawl, it doesn't look very uniform, but if you finish it at any point, it will still look complete. It won't look like you ran out of yarn somewhere. And then the edging is a picot bind off, so it's very simple. I just did a simple picot bind off. So that's the Sandcastles shawl. And then the 4th project that I published was Tisetso. It's a waterfall cardigan. This one took a while for me to finish, I started working on it sometime last year, and I knitted it, finished it, got the photos done, but I just couldn't do the writing. I was, I think, exhausted too much, and it took a while for me to actually sit down, write the pattern, and then get it tested. I think the testing started sometime in December, and it was I reserved it for my birthday publishing. Okay, so this one starts from the back neck right here, and then you work to one side, and then you do so I used a provisional cast on, and then you work from the center to the other end and pick the stitches down as you go. So I included photos in the pattern for this one, so that whoever, anyone who's working on it, can actually understand what's happening. So that's what I did with this one. It's got three different lace stitches. There's the top half of the body, it's some zigzag lace, and then the bottom is some chevron, and the collar has got some eyelet garter pattern, so it lies flat and doesn't roll or anything. So those are the three different stitches. And initially I wanted to use this lace for the sleeves, but then it just looked too busy, so I just started the sleeve a bit, and then I ripped back and reworked it again because it looked too busy with the lace pattern on the sleeve. So it's a satin sleeve, and one of the interesting features on this on this cardigan is okay, let me hold it like this, is the line here that separates the different stitch patterns. So initially I tried doing a garter, sorry, not a garter row, a pearl row, but then I noticed that it wasn't giving me a nice edging. So what I had to do was to do a bind off on all the stitches for the top half of the cardigan, and then I picked stitches on the back loop, so that created this seam. So it's one of my favorite features on the cardigan, and it's a waterfall cardigan like I mentioned earlier. So that was my fourth design, and the fifth one that I did is a shawl. It's also a crescent shaped shawl. It's striped, and it's got let me just hold up so you can see up close. It's got stripes and a cable edging. So I decided on initially I planned to do the lace edging, but then I realized that, you know what, I want to make it look a bit more modern, so I went for the cable edging. So on this one I used Nurturing Fibers Super Twist Sock, and the colors okay, the blue is Glacier, and the green, the light green is Pear, and the gray is Silver. So that's it's called Sukanye Show. And then the last one that I did that I've published a pair of socks. So early last year I published my first sock pattern, and for the whole winter I was wearing hand knitted socks, and it was so much fun. Some were just vanilla socks, but it was a lot of fun to wear hand knitted socks, and I decided that I'll design more socks, and for this winter I'm looking forward to only wearing my hand knitted socks and nothing else. So for this pattern I wanted something for the indoors, so I used some DK weight yarn. So I just wanted something very comfortable and luxurious, so I went for a cable pattern. I don't know whether I can see this clearly. I went for a cable pattern with bubbles that sort of like come from the side, and the back is plain dripping, so the fit is very good. It's a cuff down sock with a heel flap and gusset. So that's the sock. So it's called bubbled cable socks, and it's now I only published it yesterday, but I'm not sure when I'll upload this, so this could be a few days later. But it's been on Ravel for a day, and I'm so excited about wearing them. Actually, I've been wearing these socks for a while. That's why I didn't show the foot of the sock, because it doesn't look so great anymore. But I'm just so excited about the socks, and I'm looking forward to do 2 or 3 more before we get into winter. But just because I've been raving so much about hand knitted socks now, my husband and my daughter have been asking for some socks. So the next design that I'll cast on will be a pair of men's socks. Okay, the stitch will, I'll probably write the pattern for men and women, and possibly kids. I think I'll need a similar pair for my daughter. But everybody now wants some socks. Well, my sister does as well, but at least she can knit. So I've promised to teach her how to knit when she gets a chance. So this is my first pair of socks for this year. And then now moving on to my finished objects, I've got a couple. So you'll notice that I've got, I do have a lot of stuff that's happening, stuff that I've finished, but I'm not knitting as fast as I would like to knit, or as I generally knit, of course. But some of my projects have been in progress for quite a while. Some are almost a year old or a few months old, but now I'm just trying to get caught up on everything and finish stuff off. So the first one that I'll show is the oldest. It's called Litabo Pull Over. So I worked on this one using Brooklyn Tweeds Purple, and the colors are Thor, and the sleeves and the neckband is made using Hamburg. So I've been working on this since last year, and it's finally done. So it's knit in pieces, and the stitch that I used it's got some slip stitches, and it's quite a fun stitch to knit, and it's so easy because in between you're just knitting and purling, and you just do slip stitches, a couple of rows. So it's quite an easy stitch to knit. But one thing that I liked about this was the seaming. So I normally knit either top down or bottom up sweaters in the round, but for this one I had to do it in pieces since I was working with different colors, and I just love the finished product that I got. The structure is so well structured. I don't know whether I can see it, but you'll probably see it in the final photos. So I just love the way it looks. You know, the seams just give it so much structure. And I think for my fall winter collection there will be 1 or 2 seamed pieces, because I'm looking at doing a couple of coats and jackets and some really woolly, you know, comfortable knits. That's what I'm going for this year. I'm just going for comfort and more comfort. So that's what I'll be doing going forward. But this is going to be coming up for testing soon. It's currently with my tech editor. Actually, I got the response on this, and I'm supposed to do some corrections. So this will be up for testing very soon. And then the next project that I did some time back, and I haven't written the pattern, is this little cow. So I like I mentioned earlier, I love cables, and I just wanted to play around with some cables on this one. And this one is Miss Lamotte's Decay Lux. The color is Boardwalk. So so I did this some months back, I think, because I've done the photos for it as well, but I haven't written the pattern. I sort of just did the chart and I did my knitting, but then I realized that it's a bit more complex to write, because with the traveling cables you have to keep on shifting the stitch markers. So to change your beginning of round. So you have to move the stitch markers either backwards or forward just to have a seamless finish. So that's what I need to write, and I was thinking of shooting a video to show, just in case there are some people who may not understand how to go about it, and just work on it quite easily, because I just want it to be a fun project for the next person to knit. So I'll try to make it as detailed as possible. So that's why I haven't done much in terms of writing the pattern, but I was just planning on keeping this one for the cooler months. So I still don't have a name for it, and that's something that's coming up, but I won't be releasing the pattern soon. I'll probably do that later on in the year. And then the next pullover pattern is my first color work design. It's also done. I'm in the process of writing the pattern, and I'll probably be doing the photo shoot for this one maybe next week. But fortunately, quite a number of people have shown interest in testing it, so I'm so excited that it's going to be progressing soon. So I also did some color work at the bottom and just a little bit on the sleeves, and yet to weave in those ends. So it's a very fun design to knit. So what happened to this one was that I did the yoke in 2 days or so. It's a fingering weight project. I did the yoke in 2 days, but when it came to the stockinette section, it took a while, because I struggle with knitting stockinette for quite a long period. I can do it for a short while and then move on to another project, and just do it particularly when there's a lot of stuff that's happening around. So that's why it took me a bit of some time to finish. So the yarns that I used here were the gray is Nurturing Fibers Silver, and the blue is Miss Lamotte yarns, and the color is Hinterland Midnight. So it's a very beautiful color. It's got some pinkish purple and some dark blue, so it just looks so good. I don't think you can see the different shades of bluish green there, but it really looks so good. And then the last finished object that I have is one of my first summer designs. It's so colorful. So it's another shawl. I still haven't blocked this one, so it's gonna be a bit larger, and I still have to weave in the ends. So what I did with this one was I knitted using some short rows to get the shaping at the bottom, and the colors are golden and patty mouth, and they are both Miss Lamotte singles. So there's a lace pattern and garter stitch alternative, and it's very long. I think even when I'm wearing it, it's going to wrap around twice. Okay, now it looks messy. I just have to pull it over my shoulders nicely, but I just wanted to show that it is a very long shawl, and the colors are really great. So those are all the finished objects that are going to be coming up for testing and for publishing soon. On my whips, I'll show a couple that I'm actively working on. So I do have some that are sort of hibernating, and some are waiting for the right season for me to work on them. For instance, I've got a bag that I started, I think that was 2019, and I'm yet to finish it, and I want to finish it and have it out for the summer this year. So I'll probably be working on it in the next maybe 3 weeks or so. So I'll show it when I get to it, because I've only done the base. It's going to be a backpack, and I've got a couple of other small projects and some cardigans that are going to be coming out later, so I'll show them as I get to work on them. So the first one that I'm working on right now is some sock. So it's some lace sock. It's got some eyelets and some stockinette patterning, and this one also uses Miss Lamotte twist sock, and the color is linen. So it's also a cuff down sock with a heel flip, my favorite construction, but I'll probably be experimenting with other construction methods too. But for now, I'm just enjoying this one. And then I'm almost done with the sock. Actually, I'm working on the toe right now. I'll probably be finishing it later today. And then my next project is a pullover. So with this one, I used Michelle's yarns as well as another collaboration with her. This is Cocon Blue yarns, so it's a limited edition. So it's the dark blue yarn and the white, the natural color with speckles. So it's a raglan top. I don't know if you can see clearly because the color is so dark, but it's raglan and it's got some stripes. So now I'm working on the largest stripe for this pullover. I think this will be 4 or 5 inches, but I've already done the separation for the sleeves, so it's now moving faster. So it's going to have some striping, and probably at the bottom I'll do the 2 stripes, and that's the light color. It's got some blue speckles. I don't know if you can see those, and there's the dark blue. And then the next one is a sideways pullover. So I've just started working on it. I've done the sleeve and part of the body. So it doesn't show quite easily yet, but it's going to be curved at the bottom. So it's just going to be a nice relaxing top. And for this one, I think it's one of those projects where you just have to let the yarn do the talking, and I'm using Miss Lamotte's it's called Buttered Popcorn. So it's got some really nice speckles. There's some light gray and dark gray and some yellow speckles. So it's a really lovely yarn color, and I'm so excited to be working on it because normally I don't enjoy working on stockinette, but because of the color that I'm working on, it's just so nice to see everything just taking shape. So I'm just about a third done with the back, so I still have about 2/3 to go because it's going to be slightly loose fitting, but it's not going to be as loose as the Babalwa pullover. It's just going to fit, it's going to have less positive ease, but I just want a relaxed look for this one as well. And then the last work in progress that I've got is another pullover. Okay, this one is a very basic one. It's called Tandiwe, and Tandiwe means beloved. So it's going to be a very basic everyday pullover. So that's why I did very simple stripes in a very basic color that I can use on almost everything. So you know, one funny thing about this project is that it took me 3 tries to get the neck shaping and the stripes right. And at the time I was still calling it my basic striped pullover, and I was working on the Mbalenhle pullover at the same time. So the weirdest thing was that the more complicated project just took one try and I had it going immediately. But with this one, it took me 3 tries. So by the time I was done ripping back, I couldn't use the light colored yarn because it was so dirty. And the yarns that I'm using for this one are African Expression, Joy, and the colors are 1001 and 1057 for the gray. So with this one, particularly when I'm doing very basic designs, I tend to go for more affordable options. So this is a very affordable locally produced yarn. It's got 15% mohair, 40% superwash wool, and 45% acrylic. So it's a nice and soft yarn. I've used it on a couple of designs. There's no peeling and it just looks good for a very long time. So that's the idea that I tend to work with. Whenever I think of a basic design, I try to make sure that I go for the yarn option that will be very inclusive on everybody, and that's the idea when it comes to basic designs. So lastly, I would like to share my stash acquisitions, and I'm so excited about this part. So a week ago I received these yarns. They're so gorgeous. So these are for a future pullover design with a cowl neck, and I'm excited about this yarn. It's Miss Lamotte. So I use very few I've got very few yarn options at the moment that I've been liking and buying. So every single time I change it, I focus on 1 or 2 dyes and I just stick to the yarns for a while. So for now, it's been Nurturing Fibers and Miss Lamotte. So this color is Shipwreck. It's Shipwrecked actually. And this one is Erebus. And then I also got some fingering weight yarn, and this is St. Castles. This is the twist sock, and I also got a couple of skeins. I think I've got 8 now of the same color, St. Castles, and this is the DK Lux. So I'm planning to do a short-sleeved tunic sort of for the fall. So this one won't be jumping on my needles anytime soon, but I'm so excited about it. I'll be doing a fall garment and something that's a bit tight fitting at the top and flares out at the bottom. And then lastly, okay, that's not the last one. And then I've got Miss Lamotte. Sorry, no, not Miss Lamotte. This is Yama Fiber Arts. It's Medlin. Okay, the colors are Usus. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And then there's faded khaki and brushed copper. So I'll mainly be using these two for a color work pullover, and I'm so excited about it. But this won't be jumping on my needles anytime soon. It's probably something that I'll start working on sometime in June. I just got the yarn slightly earlier. We were chatting about this project. We've actually been talking about this for a while to do a collaboration, and we finally agreed to work on it. So I'm just trying to be a bit more organized with my projects. So I'm planning to start working on this sometime in June so that it will be ready sometime maybe in October or something. So I've been trying to work around my processes and figure out how best to get stuff out at the right season, because I've been struggling with that. Sometimes I end up having to push stuff forward for the following year because it no longer won't work for that season. This is merino linen worsted, so it's 90% South African merino and 10% linen. So this type of project is something that you need to at least get out at the beginning of fall or late fall towards winter. But I don't know, it's not something that I would want to be working on and publishing it right now, because it's a very thick, woolly and cuddly design. So if you notice with all the yarns that I've shown, they all have a very autumnal look, and I'm looking forward to working on the project. And there are a couple of cords, like really long cords, maybe around 40 inches long, that I'm planning to work on. There will probably be one that is that long, and the rest will be maybe around 30 something inches. So I'm just, like I said, this year I'm looking forward to getting those cuddly, comforting clothes. I think with spending so much time indoors and at home, I just spend so much time thinking about comfort and comfortable clothes and comfortable jackets or sweaters that you can just put on in the when you're cuddling on the couch or watching Netflix or doing whatever. So that's the theme that I'm going for with my fall winter designs. So I'm looking forward to sharing that journey with you. And my next cast on is going to be a very bright one. This is Nurturing Fibers Eco Cotton. So it's 100% organic cotton, and the color is Aventurine. So I'm looking forward to casting this one on. So it's a cotton top, but it's going to have some cables that have got sort of like some eyelets, since this is a summer design. So I'm so excited about this, and there are a couple of other summer designs that I'm going to cast on in the next few days. I just wanted to get some of these projects out of the way, but I'll be working on some warm weather designs, and they're going to be colorful and bright and very happy looking. So that's all that I had to share for today, and this is going to be quite long, but at least I've gotten a whole lot of things out of the way. Going forward, I think I'll be more focused on what I'm sharing. So the last thing that I wanted to invite you was to click on the link below, where I've put the link for my newsletter, to subscribe on my newsletter, because that's where I share a lot of my current designs. Sometimes people don't get to see things on Instagram because of the algorithms, but if you sign up for the newsletter, at least you'll be able to see all the new designs that come out, some discounts that are exclusive, and some other fun stuff that I'll be sharing, like tutorials and other knitting presentations. So be sure to just click on the link below and subscribe for my newsletter. It's not going to be spamming your mailbox, because I'll be sharing maybe twice a month or so. So just click on the link below. And one more thing, just don't forget to subscribe on my channel. I'll be sharing more videos in the future, and I look forward to doing more podcasts, hopefully every week. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day and happy knitting.